Hello, friends. And in this particular topic, we'll talk about modernism. Since we have T.S. Eliot as a prescribed poet with preludes, we have W.B. Yeats, who to some extent is a modernist poet. So it's very important to know about modernism. Modernism as a movement started somewhere towards the beginning of the 21st century, and two prominent poets of this genre, or we can say movement, were Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. Now, this poetry was startlingly original, it was raw, it was symbolic, and it had an imagist aspect about itself. So the movement, a separate movement called Imagism, was something which drew parallel from the modernist movement, and it merged into the modernist movement. So, and as far as the diction is concerned, diction is urban, is very contemporary, is very realistic. We are talking about the stark realities of life. We are talking about the towns, cities inundated with filth, garbage. We are talking about people who are in a dilemma. And the rampant theme is that of loneliness. One should note that these were the years where the world was getting fragmented and it was heading towards a great war. So, the poetry before the World War First and after and post World War First is what we label as the modernist poetry. And in the first decade, the modernist poetry has started taking a concrete shape, and we could identify okay, this is a different strain of poetry, different from the contemporary strain at that time. And it was to an extent anti-romantic also. It had a tinge of classicism as far as the style is concerned, but in terms of the themes, it borrowed slightly from the romantic conventions. So here, this is a very complex phenomena. Now, so many things are happening together. It is not just one modernism that we can talk about. There are multiple of modernisms. We can have identify. Modernism would literally mean looking ahead of your times. So whatever is looking beyond the present scenario is looking beyond the present state of affairs. It is looking beyond the present milieu that is constituting the form of poetry, is modernist in approach, in modernist in thoughts. So this was a phenomena which had multiple dimensions about itself, in terms of images, in terms of symbolic movements, in terms of borrowing from different languages, in terms of diction used, in terms of meter. So they borrowed rampantly from the free words, and in the this particular aspect, we can say the French poets took the lead, and many of the British poets and the American poets also, when you talk about Ezra Pound, they were sort of imitating the French poet. Along with it, there is a parallel stream of cinema going on. So, in literature also, you have the implications of the cinema. You have the long shot and the short shot. You have the uh, stream of consciousness, which, although became a part of the novel, had nothing much to do with the poetry part, but was again one of the strains of modernism, where many things were a specific control of time, placement in terms of time, and the movement is not vertical, it is horizontal. It is in depth penetration into the character, into the psychological manifestations of the character. So you have um, Darwin as a scientist coming up with his laws, you have the psychological theories. So all were somehow showing their influence and shaping up the movement which was called modernism.